Yeah, it's the momentum. We're going to talk about a little bit about momentum. And for those of you joining us fresh, we are talking about the Limitless Reading Challenge. And this is how to read 30 books this year. This is a challenge to read 30 books this year, to absorb all that information. And we know leaders are readers. And so I want to welcome everyone to joining us. That equates to breaking it down about 20 pages of reading a day. And we are going live every day for 1 hour this week, Monday through Friday. We're halfway through, so congratulations, everybody. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And in this session, so on Monday, we talked about reading speed. And I gave everybody some tips on how to improve your reading speed. We did a couple exercises, and for the most part, everybody was improved about 25, some Jan at 50%. Some people said they doubled their reading speed, which was amazing. How many people were able to do that? Please put that in Zoom. I'm also going to broadcast a little bit of this on Instagram. But if you're watching on Instagram, it would be so much better if you went actually to the link in my bio in Instagram and join us for the full experience. We're doing this in a private Facebook group. We're broadcasting to just over 1,000 people on Zoom. And most of it's actually happening in our app. If you haven't downloaded the Kwik Brain Universe app, that's where it's happening. That's where I'm answering questions. I answer probably 50 personal messages a day in the Kwik Brain app. You notice I haven't been posting a lot on social media because we have this app where it's like social media for brainiacs. And I just love it, the community, how we're supporting each other. So the app is cool. Thank you very much, Lorraine. So what we're going to do today is for the next hour, on Monday, we talked about reading speed, and I gave you tips for improving reading speed. Yesterday, we focused on reading comprehension. We talked about the 3 R's to having better comprehension while you read. In this session, I want to talk about focus, concentration, because have you ever read a page in a book, get to the end, and then just forgot what you just read? Does that happen to anybody here, where you're reading something, you get to the end, just forgot what you just read? How do you maintain your concentration in a world full of rings and pings and dings and app notifications and social media alerts? And so that's what I want to talk about today. Now, tomorrow we're going to talk about mindset, really the mindset of mastery, and how to change your mindset about self-limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, things that will keep you from being a better reader. And the day after that, we're going to talk about hacking your motivation so you could have a sustained, limitless motivation to follow up on your reading. Okay, so right now is a great time to invite your friends to join us. There are other challenges, and I recommend a lot of them. I think with challenge comes change. A lot of challenges have lots of experts, a couple dozen experts sharing their point of view on success. What we're doing is you have me for the entire week, 1 hour a day. So we're going a deep dive into the number one skill I think leaders need today, which is reading. If somebody has decades of experience and they could put it into a book on spirituality, on entrepreneurship, on Bitcoin, on investing and negotiating, on finding your soulmate, whatever it happens to be. And you can sit down and read that book in a few days. You can download decades into days. And so I want to encourage everybody. I believe that that reading is to your mind what exercise is to your body. Jenna, I see like lots of books behind you, and I know you're a big reader. What are you reading? Yeah, what are you reading for your challenge?
I'm still making my way through Love People Use Things. Mm-hmm. Yep, Love People Use Things. And finishing up the dystopian I'm reading. And then
very cool.
We're moving on to... I'm not sure yet. We'll see what...
Well, everybody should have they have your to-do list. I love having a to-read list, and I've had a to-read list.
TBR? To be read?
To be read. A lot of people, you've heard me make this joke before, but a lot of people are really good at buying books, and they sit on your shelf and become shelf help and not self-help. But, so I read nonfiction during the day. I read fiction at night. But I think if people have challenges with reading, and I'll answer questions at in about 30 minutes. The Energy Paradox, great book. By the way, a lot of the books that I see here, a not to-do list, Amanda, absolutely, 100%. In the chat here, We have 1,200 people right now watching live on Zoom. We have 800 people on Instagram. We have 114,000 people in our private Facebook group. So make sure you join us in these, whatever works for you. Atomic Habits, we've had James Clear on our podcast. Dr. Stephen Gundry, author of The Energy Paradox, we've had on the podcast. A lot of the books that are coming up were book recommendations that we've had. Great books that I would recommend. Who we had on the show also, Jamie Kern Lima. Some of you have read her book. We had her on the show talking about mental resilience. She sold her company for over $1 billion, and it's in the mindset of success, because we talk about mindset. We also had on our show Emily Fletcher, who's my meditation coach, and I recommend this book. And really, this is amazing. Stress less, accomplish more. And she talks about not only meditation, but mindfulness and manifestation, which is a big topic for a lot of you. We've had her on our show multiple times. Jenna, we had her for Limitless Together, that series we did last year when the book first came out. A couple of the people we've had on our show, Dr. Daniel Amen's been on our show multiple times. Use your brain to change your age. In here, this book came out. I mean, imagine using your brain to be able to change your age, and it's really great because they dedicated a whole chapter on our work when this book came out. The secrets to look, feel, and think younger every day. Dr. Daniel Amen. And then the last book recommendation I would give you, if you haven't read this already, we've had Dr. Mark Hyman, who also did the foreword for Limitless, on our show. This is his book, The Ultramind Solution. The Ultramind Solution. Do you have a broken brain? And it's kind of a strange question, but there's this invisible epidemic that affects almost 1 billion people nationwide. And, people having challenges with depression, challenges, focus concentration, focus on, be able to remember people's names, where people feel like they have senior moments coming way, way, way too early. That's why we're going to talk about memory also as well. In fact, I'll cover memory in part of this conversation. Also, when there are questions here that you're the answer, please step up, because how do we become limitless in a limited world? We do it together. So we have each other's backs and we have each other's brains. So as there are questions that come up about the app, about the sale that we're doing right now, you guys know the link. All our programs this week, to celebrate this week, are 50% off. It's a 50% discount. And so if you go to jimkwik.com/special, this link is also in my Instagram profile. You get any of our programs, our best-selling speed reading program, memory program. This is where we're doing this every single day for 30 days, like 21 to 30 days straight. And so if that's something that interests you, then we'd love for you to join us. And all the programs take place in our app. And obviously it's web-based also, so you could go to a website and log in. I appreciate the love for the t-shirts every single week. I have, at last count, I had over 300 brain t-shirts. And it's not like I take pride in that, but it's one of those things where if you see it, you take care of it. And you've heard me say this before. You see your hair, you take care of your hair. You see your skin, you take care of your skin. You see your car, your clothes, you take care of those things. But we don't always see the thing that controls everything, which is the human brain. So most of the times I'll have brains everywhere. I'll point to my brain. I'll wear brains on my shirt. And if you go to jimkwik.com, you have those brain shirts there, our whole collection. We cycle them out, for different shirts each month. And we donate part of the proceeds. Many of you know, how many of you have Limitless? We have almost 10,000 reviews. Is it 10,000 ratings already on Amazon? I haven't even looked at it recently. But we've donated 100% of the proceeds of this book to charity. So thank you for that. To Alzheimer's research, and also building schools for children who do not have access to schools. And, I believe in that you learn so you can earn so you can return. All right. That's the warm-up. Now, day 1, we talked about speed reading and using a visual pacer. Day 2, we told you about the 3 keys for building your comprehension. And I know you know all these answers because some of you read more than I do even. Some of you read faster than I do. And that's what I love about this. We wrote this book, Limitless, around the hero's journey. This is the stages. Joseph Campbell set us apart, where this is where you take people from the ordinary to the extraordinary. So I'm going to show you some fun stuff on read, write, relate, everything that's going on here. I'm going to show you how to memorize content today. We'll do it today. I just did spoke at an event with this guy last week. How many people know Influence, Robert Cialdini's work? This is the #1 book on influence. He talks about, in the original work, 5 million copies sold. Actually, I have a picture of us from 2005. I look like a little kid. If I can find it, I'll share it. But of me and Robert Cialdini speaking at an event, 10,000 people in New Orleans, 2 weeks right before Katrina, in the convention center. But this is a must-read book by Cialdini. He talks about the 6 principles of influence. In his latest book, where he updated influence, he added an extra principle. So there's actually 7 principles. So I'll actually teach you how I memorized this book, some other things, and we'll do it today. So we have a lot to cover. So if you haven't already, you could share this, take a screenshot or forward it on Instagram. You could send it to, also, we're sent everybody to register, limitlessbook.com/challenge. Actually, can somebody put that here on Instagram also? I'd like to pin it. limitlessbook.com/challenge. And what we're giving away is, we're actually, as a kind of keep people engaged, we put together 10, now more of these boxes, brain boxes. And it has like books from previous podcast guests. It's a great book, Motivation Manifesto by Brendan Burchard. And it has some brain foods and some brain shirts and also brain mugs. So everybody grab your beverage and your book and let's get started. Okay, you could enter everywhere. So if you post it, the drawings we're doing, we're giving away 2 a day. And so tag me at Jim Kwik and tag at Kwik Learning. So you do it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Not on TikTok. I think we have an account on TikTok, but I haven't done that yet. Tell me if we should, and we'll start doing those. Okay, so this the book list also, and we have a huge book list at the end of Limitless, 2 pages full of books that I also recommend. I hope that's helpful. All right, let's get started. All right, what is the key to better focus and concentration? If you read something and forget what you just read, if your mind easily wanders, if you get easily distracted, what can you do to do that, to get better? So let's take some notes on this. All right, first of all, focus is a verb. It's not a noun. We trick ourselves with the language that we use all the time. And part of what this conversation about this week for Limitless Reading Challenge is about transcending. If you look at the word transcend, it means ending the trance. Ending this massive gnosis, maybe through marketing or media, that we're not enough, that we're not smart enough, that we feel like that we're too old, or we need to be fixed, that we're broken. And so here's the thing, when we're talking about focus and concentration, which is the topic of today, a lot of us put ourselves in a trance. And that's not just coming from the outside, it's coming from the inside. And we say things to ourselves. We say, I don't have focus today. I don't have motivation today. I don't have energy today. And these are not things you have. These are things you do. When you repeat that, these are not things you have. So stop saying that you don't have them. These are things that you do. And part of what I believe success is taking nouns and turning them into verbs. You take a noun and turn it into a verb. Because what does that allow you to do? It allows you to get your sovereignty back. It allows you to get your power back, right? Because when it's a process, then you have agency and you could do something and you're not stuck. You're not limited, if you will. And so you do not have focus, you do focus. Now, I want everyone to think about this. This is, Sally, I have my turmeric in this also as well. I put some ashwagandha and some lion's mane, some other stuff in there also. So here's the thing. Imagine it's a nice day outside, right? Like imagine it's very bright outside. And actually I have a magnifying glass, but have you ever gone outside with a magnifying glass, Jenna? Or maybe your son did that, and they
4 brothers.
Okay,
So yes.
And you just burn things, right? So imagine you're outside. It happens to be a sunny day. I don't know if I could show this, but it happens to be a sunny day outside here. And so let's say you're outside, and we should do this outside because not looking, some fresh air. Imagine you have a magnifying glass, and that point, I call it a focal point, it's very bright, right? It's very bright. And it's interesting. It's bright enough to burn something. And bright is a word that we use to what? To describe somebody who's intelligent, right? You call somebody bright if they're smart. But maybe they're not necessarily smart. Maybe they're just better focused, right? That's what a magnifying glass does. It helps you to focus. And you could take a 60-watt bulb and focus it, and it could burn a hole in a piece of wood, right? And that's the power of focus. And I always tell people that the most important thing is to keep the most important thing the most important thing. A lot of focus is energy management and priority management. It's not just about time management. You enter our Facebook group, you could just search Kwik Brain. You have to be accepted into the group, but we have 115,000 people in the group. Just search KWIK Brain, and using a magnifying glass to fry those ants. Yes, automatic negative thoughts. Very, very good. I love you guys. I literally got goosebumps when I read these. I'm just like speed reading these comments because I call them truth bumps, because I think that when you teach something, you get to know it better, and pulling it out, like we talked about retrieval last time. It's a great way of ingraining the information. So ANT stands for automatic negative thoughts. That your brain is this incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk is the program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at reading, you won't be a great reader because you programmed your supercomputer not to, right? And so you always want to be conscious of your self-talk, and that's part of our focus. A lot of times people are reading and they're saying, oh, am I doing this right? Is this how I'm supposed to be doing? And if you're talking to yourself and you're reading something, you're not going to be able to pay attention to both. So a big part of it is focus. Now, the other part of focus, the challenge link again is limitlessbook.com/challenge. If you want the replays from Monday, Tuesday, and today, we store them exclusively in our app. All right. So if you search Kwik Brain Universe, you could download the app. It's absolutely free. We'll be developing some pretty awesome brain games and reading assessments in there and everything. But that's where we all hang out, all of us. So that's where most people are watching it right now. Even though we have 1,400 people here watching it on Zoom, we have a good 1,000 people watching it on Instagram, Facebook also as well. So just share it, and then we'll be going to be giving away copies of the books. By the way, I have so many books, extra copies of these books. I buy these books for gifts. A lot of times when you see me repost Limitless, and even in different languages that, we have it, a lot of times when you see me repost it, it's because we've gifted people in our community these books. And so every language, this book came out 12 months ago, almost exactly 12 months ago. And now it's in like 30 plus countries. So I'm sure you can find a copy in the language that you prefer there also as well. All right. So what is the key to focus? Focus is a verb. It's not a noun, and it's something you could do. And also focus is a muscle. It's use it or lose it. But here's the thing. Most people are flexing their distraction muscles because they wake up and the first thing they do is what? Tell me. On Instagram. If you're on Instagram, I guarantee you probably know. You pick up your phone. And Simon Sinek and I, we have a video on Facebook. You can search both our names. Great book, Start With Why. I'm going to mention a number of books. If you ever seen me with Oprah or Elon or these individuals, we bonded over books because leaders are readers. And that's my goal, is to get everyone watching this to read 30 books this year. It breaks down only 20 pages a day. And if you're a speed reader, you're going to be able to get through that in just minutes. So that's what we're there for. But if you watch this video of Simon and I, it's 37 million views, or maybe more by now. I just talk about don't touch your phone the first 30 minutes a day. I'm going to talk about this for a very long time, because when you wake up, you're in this relaxed state of awareness. You're very suggestible, and that the first thing you do is pick up your phone. You're rewiring your brain for two things that's messing with your productivity and your performance and your peace of mind. It's rewiring your brain for distraction. because you know that every like and share and comment, it's driving you to distraction, and you wonder why you can't pay attention while you read. You wonder why when you're having a conversation with somebody, your mind goes somewhere else, because you're flexing your distraction muscles. You're getting that dopamine flood with all that novelty, and it's rewiring your brain to just go. And then so when you're on screens like this, you might be on Zoom, but then you're on Slack, and then you're on social, and then you're checking your email, you're doing a million different things. And the brain, is it a bad thing? I'll tell you where it is. Multitasking. How many of you feel like you multitask? You feel like you multitask? And I'll answer questions in about 20 minutes. So in actuality, we don't multitask. The human brain's not capable of doing multiple cognitive activities at once. You can certainly ride a bike and be on the phone, but you can't do two cognitive. What you're actually doing, science has concluded, is task switching. You're going from one task to another, and you think you're multitasking, but you're not doing two parallel. You're actually going from one to another. What does it cost you? 3 things, especially let's talk about focus. It costs you time, and none of us could afford to lose time, because time is what life is made out of, right? And you can't get that back. So it takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to regain your focus. So you don't want to do that, going from one thing to another, because it takes minutes to regain your focus. You're actually losing the thing you think you're gaining. The second thing it costs you, besides time, mistakes. I get to train a lot of doctors, and they've done research with surgeons saying when they're trying to multitask, they make more errors. And so not only is it costing you time, it's costing you mistakes. And if that's not bad enough, reasons to stop multitasking, the third thing, it costs you energy, which is when you go from task to task to task, you burn more brain glucose, and you wonder why. How many of you suffer from brain fatigue, or brain fog? Mental fatigue, you're just tired. Part of it is we're trying to do too much. And when you go from one thing to another, you're burning more fuel, and you wonder why. And if you listen to my podcast with on the energy paradox, we talk about this mentally. Everything in our podcast, which we've done over 200 episodes, tens of millions of downloads. I think there are like 4,000 reviews on iTunes alone. It's only 15 minutes. There's no sponsor. There's no advertisers. And we just get right to the point in 15 minutes. How many of you listen to our podcast? I would start listening to podcasts. Thank you, Monica, Jeffrey, Veronica, Dion, Robert. Start from the beginning. Our podcast actually didn't start as a podcast. I don't share this, but people are asking the same thing on social media and emails and everything about the same questions. How do you remember names? How do you learn a language? How do you read faster? What are the best brain foods? How do you change your habits, right? All things that we should know. And I just took my phone and I just started recording voice messages and sending it to my team. And they're like, oh, this is pretty good. And they upload it as a podcast. I also happen to love the intro to our podcast with Morgan Freeman. I could just listen to that guy, all day. I was going to try to commission him to see if he could narrate Limitless, but people really were used to my voice. Anyway, going back to this, do not pick up your phone first thing in the morning, because it rewires your brain for distraction, and you wonder why you can't focus throughout the day. But the second reason you don't pick up your phone, not only does it rewire your brain for distraction, it rewires your brain for reaction. Reaction, meaning you can't win the day if you can't win that first hour of the day. And if you want to win the day, you got to win that first hour of the day, right? But if you're starting your day and the defense, like reacting to things, like you pick up your phone and what's there? Voicemail messages, text messages, emails, social media messages, right? All these messages, and you're just reacting to things as opposed to you designing your day and doing something like reading. And granted, if you know my morning routine, a lot of the things that I talk about don't take a lot of time at all. I'm not saying you need to spend 2 hours for yourself, and it's great that some people have that. I'm just reading the comments, but I don't, and most people don't. And if you have kids, you have everything else, what are simple things you could do? Remember your dreams, takes 2 minutes, right? Make your bed, takes a minute, which is good because you're building your focus, you're building your presence. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? What are you doing? You're brushing your teeth with the opposite hand. How many of you tried that? We did that for the challenge last year, because what does it do? It builds the opposite side of your brain, and it gets you to focus. It gets you to be present. And most people, they can't remember names. Not because then I can't remember one or two words. It's just because their mind is wandering, right? But if you train yourself to do things like brush your teeth with the opposite hand or some of the other things we talk about, it gets you to just be present and build that focus first thing in the morning. Because you don't want to start... Brendan Burchard, who we're giving away his book also in the Brain Box. I bought 10 copies of these about motivation, because people ask about motivation a lot. He has this saying that he says, your inbox is nothing but a convenient organizational system for other people's agenda for your life. Can we just meditate on that? Your inbox is nothing but a convenient organizational system for other people's agenda for your life. And people are eventually how do you remember all these quotes? It's because I'm the memory guy, and that's what we teach you to do. But life is so much easier. I don't just want you to read faster, frantic fast. It's when you are physically fit. Let's use the metaphor of physical training. If you are physically fit and there's a hill that you need to climb and carry stuff up, if you're physically fit, you have endurance, you have strength, you have energy, right? You have good technique, you could get up that mountain and not break a sweat. Whereas somebody on the other side of the spectrum would take longer, they would struggle, they would suffer, they would burn more energy, they won't be as efficient, it won't be enjoyable, right? But that's a lot of people when it comes to learning. When you are mentally fit, things just are easier to learn languages, to learn music, to be able to learn names, right? Be able to read faster when you're mentally fit. And that's why I call myself, or people have called me a brain coach, because I do what a personal coach would do for you, a trainer. A trainer makes you stronger, faster, more energized, more agile, more pliable, right? I want your mental muscles to be stronger. I want your memory to be sharper. I want your thinking to be more agile. I want your brain to have greater endurance, right? And this is the most important thing to focus on today. And so you make these decisions. In Limitless, we have this quote. Somebody sent me this today. It's for those of you, I collect these. This is a Jim Kwik one, and it's got the book and everything. I love my little toys. For those of you who know, I grew up with learning challenges. I had my first brain injury when I was 5 years old, a very bad fall in kindergarten. And that's where I had horrible focus, horrible memory. It took me 3 years longer to learn how to read, and that's why I'm so passionate about this. When I was labeled broken and put in special classes, not the cool kind of class, not the ones that I really kind of feel got brought out the most out of me. So then, you see me, I have a 10-foot Hulk in my backyard. On Instagram, I have this 6-7 foot Iron Man, just because I just kind of relive my childhood. But these things are a reminder to me that we all have this superhero inside. That I taught myself how to read by reading comic books. Something about the stories. These heroes give you hope. They give you help, right? And I think a superhero is just somebody who's discovered and developed their superpowers. And everybody here, you have a superpower. You have a talent or knowledge or skills or abilities that you can lean into. But just having a superpower doesn't make you a superhero. You have to use that power for what? You have to use that power for good. You have to use it for service. You have to use it to be able to make things better. And I think that's what we're here to do. CAPE is optional. Going back to focus and concentration. Focus is not something that you have, it's something you do. Focus is also a muscle. And I would say, if you want to be a better reader while you're reading, and focus and concentration, if your mind wanders, you get easily distracted, train your focus first thing in the morning by doing focus activities. Bring mindfulness into your eating. Even when you're eating, Simon Sinek, again, Start With Why, and I've had him on the podcast 3 times. Great book, Infinite Game. If you haven't read Infinite Game, it's a must-read book. I could grab it on the shelf, but it's his most recent book. Where a lot of sports is a finite game, right? There's a clear board, clear timetable and everything else like that. But life is not like that. It's an infinite game. Like education might be a finite game. You could get the valedictorian and a certain amount of degrees, whatever. But learning is an infinite game. Does that make sense? Like relationships is an infinite game. You never just win at relationships, right? And so it's a great book. But going back starting with why, and finding your purpose of why you do things. The reason I do things, and when we were talking about this in motivation, is because I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to be labeled. I know what it's like to not be able to have the answers. And so I want to make sure that all of you have that access, because you have it deep inside of all of you. Dopamine Detox, Yash, we actually did. I interviewed Nick Onken, who is one of the most creative individuals I've ever met. He did the photo shoots for our book also as well. It's got an amazing podcast, and we talked about it, Dopamine Detox, which is sometimes you have to disconnect to reconnect. And it's ironic I'm talking about this on Zoom and Facebook and an app and on Instagram all at the same time, but make sure you take time to disconnect to reconnect. And meditation is a great act. Let's talk about focus being a muscle. If you want better focus while you read, there's not a day that goes by, everyone, that I don't meditate twice a day. Twice a day for 20 minutes. And somebody says, well, I don't have 20 minutes, I'm too busy. If you don't have 20 minutes in your day to kind of reset, then you really should meditate for like an hour. And that's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's very, very true, that your brain isn't meant to go full throttle 24/7. You have to take time, like non-sleep rest time, to be able to recover. And that's part of the self-care process, right? Chronic stress, as a reminder, will shrink your brain. Chronic stress has been shown to shrink the human brain. And chronic fear, if you're just glued to the news all the time with everything that's scary, dark, and threatening. And I think it's important to know what's going on, right? And you make your choices to do that. But also, your brain has an algorithm. Talk about focus. Your brain has an algorithm like social media does, that if you just on Instagram or Facebook just engage with all the cat posts, what they feed you? More cats. If you just like and share and watch all the cat videos, they show you more cats. Well, your brain has the same algorithm that whatever you engage with, you see more of. And so if you just do everything that's threatening, because your amygdala gets hijacked, the news knows that if it bleeds, it leads, right? That you have to pay attention because that's your survival, that you could not exist if you don't take care of the threat. And so they know that, but if that's all you're feeding your brain, then you start seeing that everywhere. The challenge when it comes to focus and concentration, which is the purpose of this session, is that you have a limited bandwidth, and that doesn't give you a lot of bandwidth left to focus on opportunity or possibility or the things that you could be grateful for. Wim Hof has been on our show multiple times, so he has a great breathing technique also as well. Talk to your healthcare practitioner. I met Wim in 2013. We were at an event speaking together 8 years ago. I have these pictures of us doing horse stance and these breathing exercises, but I'm a big fan of cold therapy also as well. All right, going back to your focus, let's talk about this. You have part of your brain called the reticular activating system. If you're taking notes, RAS, reticular activating system. And this is what directs your focus. And this is going to come back to what you want to read. So if you're reading, say some of my favorite books, right? Man's Search for Meaning, Napoleon Hill. How many people have read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Just grab books off the shelf. Mindset, must read. Dr. Carol Dweck, Magic of Thinking Big. I mean, I'm all about the books about the mind. I read fiction, by the way, at night, because I don't want to get in my executive brain. So I don't want to be like thinking and reading neuroscience or psychology, the things I'm interested in then, but that's when I read fiction. How many of you read fiction? Reticular activating system. I love fiction because it actually has been shown to enhance your emotional intelligence, your EQ. The narrative and the storytelling helps you be able to see things from other points of view and perceptual positions, which is incredible because it actually has been shown to increase empathy, imagination, creativity. So that's all comes from fiction. So don't just read nonfiction at all. I really, by the side of my bed, I have a fiction book. I have a dream journal, and I did do dream gratitude journal in the same journal. And then also I have my like a sleep wearable device that kind of tracks my sleep. It's not how much sleep you get. How many experts have I had? Actually, we have another expert coming on next week, I think, and he wrote a book on peak sleep for athletes. Amazing. And we're going to talk about his perception of sleep, but it's not just getting the 8 hours. It's getting because this goes back to focus and concentration, because you're not going to be able to focus if you don't get a good night's sleep. I mean, Jenna, how do you feel when you haven't slept, in quite a while? How's your ability to think?
Oh, it's not.
How's your ability to focus, right?
Yeah. I'm distracted. I'm like that dog in Up.
Yeah.
Mid-sentence, squirrel.
Exactly. And a lot of entrepreneurs are, they are shiny objects. How many entrepreneurs do we have here? Any entrepreneurs? Yeah. So it's like shiny object syndrome. It's just like this and this and this and this and this. There's I'm a big fan of working with entrepreneurs. So here's the thing. You have a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, and that's your brain primarily is a deletion device. It's trying to keep information out because it would be overloaded and overwhelmed, because we could pay attention to a billion different things, stimulus. And so your brain primarily deletes things, and what it lets in are the things that it has awareness that is important. And what helps direct that RAS are questions that you ask. So for example, my sister years ago would send me emails and postcards of a very specific kind of dog. It's a breed of dog, a pug dog. You see pug dogs, like with a very kind of smug like face. They're very compliant. You can dress them up as ballerinas or whatever, and they'll just like be all happy about that. And I was like, why? My question was why? Why she send me all these photographs? And I was just like, and I realized her birthday was coming up, and she's a great marketer, and she was like seeding, right? And it's an interesting thing happened. I would just start seeing these pug dogs, Jenna, everywhere. I would go to the grocery store. I was Air One for my LA friends, and I'd be like waiting for person in front of me, and the cash register is holding a pug dog, or I'd be jogging in my neighborhood and some guys walking 6 pug dogs. And my question for all of you is, where were the pug dogs before? They were always there, but I never paid attention because I was deleting it. It was part of that billion stimuli that wasn't important to me, until I started asking the question. Then I started seeing them everywhere. Well, here's the thing. When you read something, if you have the right questions, most people read something, get to the end, just forget what they were just read. But if you have questions, like all of a sudden you're like, there's a pug dog, there's a pug dog, there's a pug dog, there's a pug dog. And so one of the best ways of enhancing your focus, besides the things we mentioned, turning it from a noun to a verb, building your focus through practice and not distracting yourself, exercising your focus through activities where you bring mindfulness into eating. Even when I was talking about eating, most people aren't mindful of eating. Let me close this loop. Simon and I, in that video that I talked about that has 37 million views on Facebook, he's like, just having your phone at your dinner table, it makes you, how does that feel? It makes you feel like you have to grab it, right? And even if it's face down, it does that. And so that distracts your focus when you're trying to be with somebody. And you could build mindfulness and your level of presence just by bringing mindfulness into day-to-day activities, like doing the laundry, right? Or cleaning up your desk, or working out, where you're not multitasking. You're actually completely present to brushing your teeth, right? Or drinking your tea, or reading a book. But a lot of time, kids now, they have to have their devices on, or they're watching a movie and they're on a device, while they're doing all these different things. And I'm just saying, try. Focus for me stands for fixed, ongoing concentration until successful. Fixed, ongoing concentration until you're successful. Joe Dispenza, where your attention is where you place your energy. Yeah, Dr. Joe came, we spoke at an event together. We had the same publisher. And then afterwards, he came to my memory workshop. And if you liked him, maybe should we get him on our show? That would be an interesting conversation, because we have some interesting perspectives on it. But my thing here is just having the phone even by your bedside makes you feel like you have to reach for it, right? And that's. But you know what? When it comes to habits, here's the thing. When it comes to habits, design your environment so that the things that are good for you are easy, and the things that are bad for you are difficult. I'll say that again. For when you're doing habit design, right? Make the things that are good for you easy, and the things that are bad for you difficult. So if you want to read each day, like fiction, then put that book by your bedside, right? Or have it in your environment, right? I have like a kettlebell like right by my foot because I'll trip on it, but it just reminds me to be able to do that, right? You want to make your life very easy. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, we've had him on our show multiple times also as well. Great book on habits. Great book on habits also, Dr. B.J. Fogg. So I quote the studies from Dr. B.J. Fogg, who's a Stanford University researcher. One of his students co-founded Instagram. Actually co-founded Instagram. And think about habitual. What do you think the average person opens up Instagram? How often do you think the average person opens up Instagram in a day? 8 times?
I think 8 to 10.
Okay. We're talking about some people. It's like 100. Some people say like it's 100 times a day, 100 times. Because you think about somebody's awake. Let's say, I don't know, what do some people like 16 hours a day, right? And even if it's like 80 times in a day, that's 5 times an hour. Some people really open up Instagram, and I'm talking to people right now on Instagram who are watching this. And if you're not doing it 80 times a day, that means somebody's doing it a whole lot more. If you're only doing 5 or 8 times, then that means average, like somebody's doing a whole lot more. But my point in this, when it comes to focus, technology is good. But if you're doing it out of habit, out of boredom, then that's not good, right? Because it's disrupting your focus. And I'm not, who's to judge? If people want to binge watch stuff on Amazon Prime or Netflix, I do whatever makes you happy. And there's a quote in Limitless that says, life is the C between B and D. B is birth, D is death, C, choice. You always have a choice. And I'm just saying, bring consciousness, bring mindfulness to your decisions, and to your words, to your actions, to your thoughts, to your character, to your habits. Because first you create your habits, then your habits create you. Focus is a habit, right? And if you're constantly distracting yourself, that becomes a habit, because how you do anything is how you do everything. Going back to the power of questions, I was asking, wow, why is she sending me pug dog photos? I started paying attention to pugs. What if you started asking questions when you read, and you're reading something like, how can I use this? Why must I use this? When will I use this? Here's a great question for focus. What's the most important use of this moment? That's just play around with some of these questions. And focus for me stands for fixed, ongoing concentration until successful. We already talked about how multitasking is a myth, right? And how it could be an enemy to your productivity, a villain to your focus, a villain to your ability to get things done. And so what I would do is be conscious of the questions that you're asking on a regular basis. And if you're not getting comprehension when you read, are you asking the right questions? Like, even if you go back to standardized tests, you remember, Jenna, taking the SATs, like reading comprehension? And there's automatically, imagine, so some people, I guarantee you are watching this, if you're watching it in our app, where most people are watching it, or wherever you're watching it, is, most people get like anxiety even thinking about tests. Like if I'll say, okay, pop quiz, people but what if instead of for reading comprehension, remember that section, you would have to read, 10 paragraphs and then they give you 8 questions or whatever. What if you read the questions first and then you read the 10 paragraphs and then you're like, oh, there's an answer, there's an answer, there's an answer, there's an answer, as opposed to reading 10 paragraphs, wasting all that time, getting to the end and be like, oh, that's what they wanted to know. Right.
It's interesting. I did that. I used to do that.
Yeah.
I talked to my husband about it when we were helping our son for the SATs, and they were both like, how did you know to do that? And I don't remember if someone taught me how to do that or if being a reader, I just did that. Yeah. But it's a game changer.
It is. And something that's my point is, again, if you're just joining us, we are here with thousands of individuals online. We have 1,500 on Zoom if you're watching this there. Most people are watching in our app. So I'll turn on Instagram for a little bit to say hi to everybody here. If you're just watching this, we're challenging you to read 20 pages a day. We call it the Limitless Reading Challenge. And we have all these prizes. I have it all, if you see me, like brain boxes full of books and signed stuff and brain t-shirts and just fun stuff to make it kind of like with contests and stuff. But 20 pages a day will get you to 30 books a year. 30 books. You'd have a PhD or a master's in any subject. And so we're rewarding that. You'll get contacted through Kwik Learning. So always hashtag Limitless Challenge, and tag at Kwik Learning if you can. You can certainly tag me on any of the platforms also as well. I'll repost. I've been reposting some every day. What you can post either a screenshot of what you're watching right now, or a picture of the book that you're reading. And my goal for you is that reading is to your mind what exercises your body. The reason why, for me, reading is like getting yourself to read. If you don't read, is like a gateway habit. It's kind of like a small little habit that you could just open up the book, read a couple of lines, and the habit of showing up for yourself, like when you say, I'm going to work out or I'm going to meditate, and you following through, it changes your identity. Because I don't want reading to be a chore for you. Who it's not a chore for? Readers. Meaning that, I said it yesterday, the two most powerful words in the English language, I am. Really tiny words, because whatever you put after that is your life, right? And it's the difference between, I have to read 20 pages a day, and saying, I am a reader, right? I am a reader. If that's your identity, you just read, right? And that's who you are. And that's really the goal, is that full integration. But it requires you to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Right? Pay attention to what you pay attention to constantly. And what helps you to master and get, like when I meditate, I don't meditate to be enlightened. Maybe that's some people's goal. My meditation is a practice in concentration and focus. Because if my attention goes somewhere else, then by breathing into it or having a mantra, I'm flexing like my focus muscles. And that focus shows up in my work. And that focus shows up when I'm here with you. Like, I'm not thinking about anything else this past hour that we spent together other than being present here. And also, because some of you know I have sleep issues, if you read the book, I have severe sleep apnea, breathing disorder, where I stopped breathing 214 times a night. I would stop breathing. Each time was 10 seconds at least minimum to count as an episode. So I would wake up suffocating, right? And I would use CPAP, dental devices, all these different things. But it forced me, just like with my learning challenges and my fear of public speaking, your struggles could become strengths, right? Life has a sense of humor. My two biggest challenges were learning and public speaking. And what do I do for a living? All I do is public speak on this thing called learning, right? So your struggles for all of you could be your strength. But I always ask myself another question, like, where's the gift in this, right? So the gift in it was that through challenge comes change. That's why I invite you to do this Limitless Reading Challenge, because with that challenge will change you, right? And that's why you're here, because ultimately we're all on this journey to reveal and realize our fullest potential, right? And sometimes we need that challenge, that struggle to give us strength, right? Because I don't know about you, but the person who falls the most has more strength than the person who's never fallen. Does that make sense? And so having that discipline and desire to be able to get up, that adversity could be your advantage, that going through, I don't know many interesting people who just got everything handed to them. They're not people I prefer to necessarily just hang out with, and they're not no judgment, but if everyone was given everything and they didn't have to work for it or be able to build those muscles, their talent, their strength, their education, their whatever it happens to be, then I think through difficulty, creates a demand. And through that demand comes the transformation. And then that's what winning is, right? But same thing when you're reading. If you don't want to read, that's the time you have to want to read, right? It's when the times that you don't want to work out that you're going to get a good workout, because you're in the habit of showing up for yourself, right? That's when I said that this is a gateway habit, reading, because it's so simple that if you could just get yourself to just open up a book or read one line, right? And you start showing up for yourself, where else does that show up, right? Because there's this huge ripple effect. So again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about, and a lot of stuff I'm talking about is being prompted by the chats that's going on, right? So I'm just talking about these things. Mistakes are good, right? I always tell people, and I'm just responding to the comments here, the questions, mistakes make it old. Mistakes are great, right? Just make them old, O-L-D. The O stands for own that mistakes. Don't blame, don't complain. Excuses are useless. You cannot be upset. I don't know who needs to hear this. You cannot be upset by the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. All right? You buy a book, but if you're not doing the work and reading that book and applying that book, you can't be upset by the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. right? And I'm saying this as a friend and as a coach, because you can waste an immense amount of energy making excuses, an immense amount of time and energy complaining about things. Own it. You make a mistake, you own it. You don't blame somebody else. You take responsibility. You're accountable. If you hurt somebody or somebody, you try to fix it, right? You apologize for it, you own it. The L in old mistakes, L stands for what? You learn from it. That's what mistakes are, right? There's no failure. There's just failure to learn, right? And remember this. I think Seth Godin said this, that if failure is not an option, then neither is success. I think Seth Godin said that. Failure is not an option, then neither is success, right? So what are mistakes there for? The L in old, to be able to learn from them. And then the D in old stands for don't repeat them. Please don't repeat them. Because if you're making the same mistake repetitively, then it's no longer a mistake. It's a choice. Can we just get real? Because some people, they'll own a mistake, maybe they learn from it, but they learn from it in the moment, but they repeat it. And you know this. All of us know somebody who like makes the same relation. They date the same kind of person. You know what I'm talking about? And they don't learn from their mistake or same mistakes in their business, right? Or with their finances, right? And they're not learning from their mistakes. Or if they are, they're repeating it. So don't repeat those mistakes. And I love again how you guys have each other's backs, because how do you become limitless? We do it together, right? And I love that everybody here is. How did you get over your fear of public speaking, Crystal? All right, so we're on the app. We're going to release a program on confidence, and this is interesting because this is coming from somebody who didn't have a lot of confidence growing up, labeled broken by one of his teachers from the whole class. That was bullied, that was marginalized, that was fear of public speaking. Like I would work really hard and do a book report, but if a teacher asked me to present on it, I would be so scared and lack so much confidence, I would actually lie and say I didn't do it, and I would take a 0, feeling great. I was petrified of these things, but part of getting over is having purpose, right? And I'm going to show you in this course on confidence, from a mind perspective, how to be able to tap into it using the Limitless model. Because the Limitless model, and we have, again, 114,000 of you in our Limitless group here on Facebook, private group. You could use it for anything. You could use the Limitless model for investing, for negotiating, for entrepreneurship, for relationships, wherever your limit is, mindset, motivation, the method you're using. Because you do not want to downgrade your dreams to meet this current situation. You want to upgrade your mindset. You want to upgrade your motivation. You want to upgrade your methods that you're using to meet your bold, audacious dreams. But when it comes to confidence, part of that's motivation. And the motivation formula if you read the book, the 3 keys to sustain motivation, to always show up for yourself. The first one is that P, which stands for purpose. Like I got over big part of me overcoming my fear. Not only was the practice in my mind and imagination and changing some limiting beliefs and things that I had, but part of it was purpose. Because honestly, I feel a moral obligation to do what I do. And because I had that sleep deficit, what's the gift that came out of that? We know the gift that came out of me having learning challenges and public speaking challenges. I got to improve those areas. What was it for sleep? And now I sleep a lot better, and a lot with the people I've interviewed on our podcast. I say, what's the gift in not sleep? Like from 2010 to 2015, I would average about 90 minutes of sleep a night. People don't know that. But because that sleep apnea, the obstructive apnea that I had, and I had to have this really intensive surgery at UCLA that got me up to 4 hours. And then and plus with my lifestyle as a student who had learning challenges, I would pull all-nighters. So I had very bad sleep habits early as a child that I had to go overcome. Plus as a speaker, I'd be on 3 continents in 1 week, time zones, sleeping in 4 different environments and everything. All that would affect it. But what was the gift that came out of that? 2 things. Number 1, I know my stuff. So I've leaned into everything I teach because all I do is share with you the things that work for me and clients in 195 countries. And so it forced me, because how can I be as effective as I am if I've got 90 minutes of sleep, right? So that's why I really lean into speed reading, memory, focus, habits, everything that we teach. But the second gift that came from it, and this is the power of using questions, asking the right questions, getting the right answer, is I do the things that I want to do, and I've designed my life. And my parents, they immigrated here. My father was 13, lost a lot of family members, parents, couldn't afford to, have them there, didn't speak the language. My mother lived in the back of a laundromat that, that her parents worked at. And, and everybody has their own story, and everyone has their own script, right? Not good or bad or indifferent, and no judgment. But it forced me, I didn't have connections. I didn't have education. We didn't have any money, right? It's not about resources. It's about your resourcefulness, right? Your ability to tap into those different things. And you have genius inside of you. We're just not shown in school how to access those things. But for me, when it came to sleep, when I learned the gift, not only did I learn these skills, but it also forced me to, like right now, I'm here with you and there's nowhere else I'd rather be. With no one else I'd rather be. Because everything in my life is heck yes or heck no. And that's my filter. Because because when you don't get a lot of sleep, you can't take on more and say yes to everything. A lot of you don't have focus. This is about focus and concentration, because you don't have energy, because you have too many tabs open in your life and you say yes way too much. Another great book, Good to Great. You say no to good so you can say yes to great, right? But if you're saying yes to everything, even if you're minimizing those tabs, it still takes up energy, right? It still takes up mind share. It still takes up some of your attention unconsciously. Right? So you say no. And so everything, design your life so that most of the time it's either heck yes or heck no. So when our team said, hey, we should do this for our team, I was like, heck yes. Yeah, let's sign me up. I want to do this Limitless Challenge. I'm doing it with you. I'm reading mine every single day, and telling you and showing you the books that I'm reading as I'm prepping for, next week's podcast episode that we're going to release, which is a big one. Make sure, by the way, you subscribe on YouTube. We have a good 600,000 plus people there. Every podcast that we have on iTunes and Spotify and everything, Spotify is one of the most binge listened podcasts because our shows has no advertising and no sponsors, right? We're not, and no judgment on other shows, but we get right to it, 15 minutes, 20 minutes max, how to remember names, learn languages, change your habits, and so on, best brain foods, memorize TED Talks. But it's one of the most binge listened shows because of no ads and just pure content in short form, bite size, brain hacks. But on the other side of it, we put the full interview, because sometimes I go longer than 20 minutes, often, and we put that on YouTube. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you get value out of it, please leave a rating on Amazon. Please leave a rating on iTunes, because your story will inspire other people that we can't reach. And this is about the movement of the mind. I want to create all of you, all of you brainiacs, that you have a love for learning. We're all on the same quest to realize and reveal our fullest potential, right? And so help me, because I feel like, getting back to public speaking, a moral obligation to do what I do. Because honestly, shame on me if somebody is struggling with their focus, their memory, their reading, their ability to think, low energy, motivation, mindset, and I don't help them, right? And here's the thing, our team is small in people, but it's big on purpose. By the way, we are doing some massive hiring also. So I think if you contact our office, I don't know, through social media or whatever, graphic designers, video editors, social media managers, everything, anyone who's really passionate about lifelong learning and brain optimization, that's what we're looking for, to be able to grow, to be able to help more people. And that's our mission. No brain left behind. So I hope this is useful, everybody. This is day 3. Monday, again, we covered speed reading. Tuesday, yesterday, we covered comprehension. And today, we talked about focus and concentration. The next couple of days, I'm going to talk to you how to hack your motivation, your mindset, and your memory. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to do it here, but I'm going to show you how to remember the different things when you read in a book. So that's going to be coming up. So make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Keep reading your 20 pages a day. Take pictures. Again, we're giving out a brain box. It's really heavy, so I'm not going to keep on showing you it, but we're going to give out at least 10 of these this week. We're going to do signed books and a lot more surprises. Make sure you join our app if you haven't. The link is in our bio of Instagram or wherever you happen to be watching this. If you hashtag everything Limitless Challenge, tag Kwik Learning, tag myself on it so we get to see it. I'll repost as I have every day some of our favorites. You can take a screenshot of this now also as well. And we'll keep it going. Remember, leaders are readers. And what books do for you is they make us a better version of ourselves. And that's what we're here. There is a version of yourself you haven't met yet. Keep showing up every single day until you're introduced. I'm your brain coach, Jim Kwik. Jenna, thank you so much. Courtney, Alexis, our entire team. Let's give a hand for our team that just makes this possible. I do the easy thing. I kind of show up and I just this. But how do we do it? We do it together. Together is better. So thank you, everybody. Stephanie, Sarah, Michael, Karen, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you tomorrow, same time. All right, bye now.